What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Alchemy Podcast. I'm your host, Doug Cartwright, and I'm excited for today's pod. I'm going to go rip it solo today. There's been a lot on my mind, and I've gotten a lot of clarity. For those that know me personally, I'm working on my second book right now, which will be coming out early 2026, maybe late 2025. And I've just been in like deep study, and I've got some really cool clarity that I wanted to share with you guys. And something that's becoming evidently clear for me is that the most successful people that I know, and this is successful in their business, successful in their marriage, in their health, in their relationships, they all have one thing that's evidently clear in common. And these people aren't the smartest. They're not the most creative. They're not the most outgoing. They're not the most hardworking, not even the most disciplined. And the skill that I'm noticing that they all have in common is actually the ability and the willingness to be able to handle discomfort. Not, I don't feel pain, not I override the pain, not I beat the pain, but I have a really high capacity to feel discomfort, and again, it was clear again to me last night. I was scrolling on my Instagram and there was a new podcast out, Theo Vaughn and Sam Altman, who is the founder of ChatGPT. And Sam said the same thing. He goes, my business changed when I learned to love the feeling of failure rather than fighting against it, pushing it, trying to change it. And the aha moment came for me is when I noticed that a lot of the messaging in life and personal development is centered around this concept of the encouragement of like, hey, go get what you want, right? How do you build a successful business? How do you get in great shape? How do you go make a bunch of money? With the assumption that if you get the things that you think you want, then you'll bypass emotional discomfort. There's like this unsaid expectation we have as human beings where it's if I can just make $20 million and find a hot partner and get in great shape, then I'll bypass unpleasant inner experience, right? What is an unpleasant inner experience? These are emotions of anxiety, fear, insecurity, disappointment, jealousy, shame, guilt. And as a coach, I realize every person I work with consistently deals with these unpleasant emotions, right? I'm feeling slightly anxious. I'm feeling slightly insecure. I'm feeling jealousy or frustration, disappointment. And our natural reaction to that is, how can I go get something externally, house, money, car, finances, where if I get the thing, I'll then no longer feel these unpleasant emotions. When the reality of life is, you will never get to a point due to your external achievement that you will transcend or no longer feel emotional discomfort. And so the skill we have to shift to, the paradigm we've got to change is rather than how do I get what I want so I feel better, to instead, how do I become the type of person that regardless of life unfolds, I'm okay. I can handle my emotional discomfort. I can handle my pain. I can handle my frustration. I can handle my disappointment. And this is the one skill and one commonality that the most successful people that I look up to and admire all have in common. And so the question is, how do you do that? How do you get to a place where you can really handle your inner disturbance? I guess that's the best way to put it, is inner disturbance. And I've come up with a tool and a concept that I want to share with you guys. It's been really helpful for me in my life. A lot of you guys who know my story personally know I had a very intense spiritual awakening in 2017, which is the whole concept of my first book, Holy Shit, We're Alive. It happened basically overnight. My first spiritual awakening was like a pivotal moment where it's just like my whole life in one night shifted direction. And I feel like I'm in the process of my second spiritual awakening right now. And this one is so subtle. It's really soft. And it's almost the best way to describe it, it's like this falling behind, right? What do I mean falling behind? It's like there's the melodramas of life. There's fear and anxiety and frustrations, right? So I have unpleasant inner emotional experience. There's also unpleasant thought, right? I get caught in rumination of what are people thinking about me? And am I doing enough? And what does this person think? And you replay, I was so silly when I said that thing to the conversation. And did I look dumb, right? You get kind of caught in the melodrama of life and your thoughts. And the way to describe this second spiritual awakening that I'm going through is that I feel like I'm falling behind. I know it sounds weird, but I'm falling behind those experiences. I'm falling behind my emotional discomfort. I'm falling behind my neurotic thoughts. Not that they're going away, right? It's not like that I've conquered them, but I've created separation from them where I'm not getting involved in them. I'm not getting pulled into them. One thing is pretty clear to me. For those who haven't seen the movie Stutz on Netflix, it's one of my favorite documentaries about a psychologist who works with Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill's a really famous actor, and he's, was going through really intense depression in his career. And so he started working with Phil Stutz, who is a world-renowned psychotherapist. And in that documentary, and it's incredible, right? He also has a book called Tools, which is one of my favorite personal development books, called Tools. But he talks about what's called the 3 realities of life. And I love the 3 realities of life because these concepts are truths that every human being has to deal with. And when we fight these realities, when we try and override them or suppress them or avoid them, we actually create more disturbance, more frustration, more pain, more unpleasant ways of being. And so what are these 3 realities? The 3 realities that we all must accept as human beings in order to create a more smooth life are: the first reality is pain. Pain is an experience that's part of the human experience that you will never be able to bypass. You'll never be able to override. You'll never be able to conquer. You'll never be able to live a fully pain-free life, right? We experience pain on a daily basis. It could be something as, the pain of your alarm going off at 5 a.m. to go get a workout in, the pain of actually doing the workout, right? The pain of frustration and confusion about lack of direction or lack of performance in your career or in your industry. It could be the pain of a breakup. It could be the pain of losing a loved one, right? We're all going to lose loved ones in our lives. So the pain intensity can obviously fluctuate with really high intense pain and less intense pains. But the reality is that pain is always going to be a part of life. And when we try and navigate our lives in a way where we don't experience pain, by doing so, we actually make our lives more painful. And the sooner we can swallow the hard pill that life is always going to be painful, the smoother life will get, right? The sooner we can swallow that pill, the smoother life gets. And the second reality of life is uncertainty. And being a coach and working with a lot of people, the common thread that I see with my clients is everyone's trying to predict the future. I want to control life. I just need to get life to be the way that I want it to. And when life is exactly the way that I want it to, then I'll be okay. And the reality is life is under no obligation to be exactly the way you want it to. Uncertainty is a guaranteed of life. No matter how much we plan, organize, strategize, we can't predict the unfolding of life. We can't predict how the stock market's going to be. We can't predict the economy. We can't predict the weather. We can't predict how people are going to respond to us. We can't predict so many different things in our lives, but for whatever reason, we feel like we need to try and control it. And when we hold on to life really tight, it creates a lot of disturbance. And the analogy I love is think about, playing tug of war and gripping onto this rope really, really tightly because you want to control it, and it's ripping, it's pulling it, it's stronger than you, and life is stronger than you, and it's pulling this rope. And if you hold onto the rope tighter, it's going to cut your hands up. It's going to create blisters and more pain, right? So the tighter we grip onto life, the more pain we actually feel, the more pain we actually suffer from. And the third reality is constant work, never ending work. Your work is never going to be completed. And even if for every listener to this, if I were to write you a check for, $100 million, some crazy astronomical number, if I were to write you a check for $100 million, initially you're going to be really excited. You're going to jump up and down and you're going to be full of joy and enthusiasm, and you're going to go buy a house and a private jet, and you're going to take your friends to Mexico, and you're going to think that all of your problems have been solved. But the reality is you're still going to have to work on your physical health. You're still going to have to work on your mental health, right? Go ask rich people and celebrities that if getting rich and famous solved all their problems, right? We see a lot of those people actually dealing with the most problems. And you're still going to have to work on your relationship with God. You're going to have to work on your relationship with your family and your friends. And the reality is that the work will never be completed. And I remember the first time I learned this lesson, it was like a dart in my soul. It was 2013, 2014 area. It was right when Vivint was going through their transaction. We were getting sweat equity. And I was with a VP at the time, Jared Young. And those that have worked with Jared Young know he's just a phenomenal human being. And we were driving out to his house. He was building a house, I think, in Spanish Fork. And he was showing us. I was with Brad Rossiter at the time, and he was going to go show us, this house that he was building. I was really excited, and I was in the back seat of the truck, and I remember I asked Jared, I'm like, "Hey, what's your number?" Meaning, like, what's the number that once that number hits your bank account, you're going to be done? I'm like, Jared, what's your number? Like, what's the number you're going for? And I'll never forget. He turns around, like, puts his arm around the driver's seat, and he looks me dead in the eye, and he says, "Doug, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be climbing a mountain." And when he said that, my initial reaction was like this feeling of fear. It was like a dart. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean you're never going to be done? What do you mean you're always going to be climbing a mountain? And I had this story in my head and this conceptual idea that if I just work hard enough and push and grind and I just like exert all of my will, that I'll eventually get to this finish line and then I'll be able to rest. And then my life will begin. And then I'll be okay. And I remember his words pierced me. I'm like, wow, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be climbing a mountain. And the sooner we can accept that as human beings, that like, hey, the work is never completed. There is no rush, right? There's no problem to solve, but every experience that comes is an allowance for us to learn and grow and expand and become better versions of ourselves. The urgency and the intensity and the discomforting, and then I guess a better word is the anxiety of the emotion around the situation, it just dissolves, right? We still work hard, we still push ourselves, we still grow, but the anxiety behind it falls away. And when the anxiety behind it falls away, we can actually create so much more beautiful work. So I want to tee off this podcast with those concepts of like, hey, there's realities of life. There's pain, it's always going to be part of life. Uncertainty, always going to be a part of life. Constant work is never going away. And that the sooner we can actually accept those things and swallow those pills, the easier life gets. It sounds counterintuitive, but the sooner we accept that life will always be hard, the easier life actually gets, because we stop fighting it. We stop negotiating with it. We stop trying to make it easier or find a shortcut or try and hack it, or we stop procrastinating. We just accept it and we move and we flow and we move through those intensities of life with so much grace and effortlessness. And so I started off with that just because that's an important foundation of this whole conversation. And so, okay, how do we do this? How do we get to a point where we can handle these uncomfortable experiences? How can we get to a point where we handle these unpleasant emotions? How can we get to a point where we increase our inner capacity to feel discomfort? And I've come up with a tool, and I call it Inner Alchemy. And Inner Alchemy is the tool I want to share with you guys of how do we get to a place where we can become the type of people that regardless of what happens, we're okay. Like, think about that for a moment. Think about if you truly woke up in the morning and your mindset was, hey, regardless of what happens today, I'm fine. Right? It can be raining, it can be 100 degrees, my business can fall apart, my relationship could end. Doesn't mean that's not uncomfortable, doesn't mean that's not unpleasant, but I'm fine. I can handle that. And that is the state that I strive for. And so how do we do that, right? So here's the tool. So first off, when we use this tool, it's going to be when you're experiencing an unpleasant inner experience. Right? You're going to feel anxiety, frustration, disappointment, sadness, overwhelm, or you're going to be ruminating on an unpleasant thought where you're just stirring over your mind. It's just driving you crazy. And so another way to talk about unpleasant emotion is the acronym that I call T.A.R, T-A-R. And I learned this from my coach, Andrew Horn. But T.A.R is when you're experiencing tar in your body, right? You think about tar, it's black, it's heavy, it's sticky, it's gross, right? So when you're feeling this black, heavy stickiness in your body, right? An acronym of T.A.R. What is that? What does that mean? T stands for you're feeling tension in your body, right? When you're dysregulated, you're tight, right? Your shoulders are up, you're clenching your fists, you're clenching your jaw, right? You're bouncing your leg up and down, right? Your inner state is tight and tense. So if you are feeling tension in your body, or the A, anxiety in your mind, you're ruminating over a thought, you're fearful of the future. What if this happens? What's going to happen if this person doesn't text me back, or if this business deal falls through, or if I don't get the promotion, right? The anxiety of life is just really intense and you're overwhelmed and you're ruminating on a thought. I'm feeling anxiety. Or there's R, resistance in action, meaning you know there's something you need to do, but you're not doing it. You're not making the phone call. You're not having the hard conversation, right? You're not texting that person, right? You're not going out and working. You're not going to the gym. You're not waking up early, right? There's this thing you know you need to do and you're not doing it, not going out and working or knocking doors or selling or expanding your business. So when you feel this sticky heaviness, black tar, tension in the body, anxiety in the mind, resistance in action, what do we do, right? The whole goal is to increase our ability to feel discomfort, not live a life where I don't experience discomfort. It's impossible. But how do I become the type of person that can handle it? So when the tar is present, we want to alchemize it, right? So what's the tool of inner alchemy? There's a 3-part process. Step number 1, it's very basic. When I am experiencing tar, step 1 is unclench the tension in your body. It's a physical step. Unclench. Relax your shoulders. Take a deep breath. And do this while you listen to this. Let your gut hang out. Relax your shoulders, your back, your stomach, your hands. The point right between your eyebrows. Unclench it. Relax your eyelids. Just relax your whole body. And take really deep breaths. Step 1 is a physical piece. We can all do this. I'm going to relax. I'm going to unclench. And the reason this first step is important is because this is actually the opposite of resistance, right? If I'm feeling resistance and tension, the opposite of tension and resistance is relaxation, unclenching, right? So anywhere I feel tension or tightness in my body, I'm going to unclench. Step number 1, unclench. Step number 2 is to welcome the discomfort, but don't touch it, right? So I'm going to feel anxiety, whatever the discomfort is, whether it's anxiety, overwhelm, insecurity, jealousy, guilt, shame, right? Whatever the tar you're feeling, right? We're going to welcome it, but we're not going to touch it. This is really deep. This is so important, right? So first step is let's use anxiety for the example here. I'm feeling anxiety in my chest, right? Step 1, unclench. Step 2, I'm going to welcome the anxiety in. It belongs here. It makes sense to me. I'm going to welcome it in, but I'm not going to touch it. What does that mean? Don't touch it. I'm not going to react to it. I'm not going to get pulled into it. Think about this. Anxious people make poor decisions. Think about when you're really anxious, you're really stirred up. How would you rate the quality of your decision making in that state? We all know it's really low, right? One of my favorite analogies is think about let's imagine that it's a beautiful summer morning. You're up in the mountains. There's this beautiful lake, right? You're watching the sunrise and the water is still. It's still, it's peaceful, it's glass. And someone throws a big boulder into your lake and it creates all these ripples. And we don't like ripples. We don't want the ripples. So the ripples are here, the uncomfortable. We don't like them. And what does the average person do to get rid of the ripples? They jump in the lake to try and smooth out the ripples. If you jump in the lake to try and smooth out the ripples, what's going to happen? You're going to create more ripples. And so now that there's more ripples and I'm trying to get all the ripples to soften out and I'm moving around and change this one and now I'm in the water, now I'm soaking wet and I'm anxiety, right? I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to get rid of it, right? And we know that when we do that, it just makes it worse. You guys know this through experience. What happens when we try and push anxiety away? What happens when we try and push insecurity, fear, disappointment away? Sweep it under the rug. What happens? It gets bigger. Psychology 101. What you push away. You've got hands in there, right? What emotion, discomfort you push away gets bigger. So step number 2 is to welcome it, but don't touch it. When there are ripples in your lake, The only way for the ripples to go away is to not touch them. Just relax. It's going to be uncomfortable, right? By the way, this tool does not mean you're going to feel good all the time. You're just immediately going to feel pleasant, right? It just means that you can handle the discomfort. And here's what's really powerful. If you don't touch the discomfort on its own, it will, and here's the word, transmute out the top of your head. It will go away on its own, but you can't touch it. Just relax, unclench, right? Don't touch the discomfort. Be with it, but don't touch it. And on its own, it'll go away. And the first time I actually got an insight on this, I've never shared the story before publicly, but I was in an ayahuasca ceremony. And those that know me know I used to be kind of deep into psychedelics. I'm not in the psychedelic scene anymore, but I was deep in an ayahuasca ceremony. This was 4 years ago. And I got this really strong visualization, and I was living in this beautiful home. And I remember just being like in the kitchen, and it was really pleasant and enjoyable. And you guys have all seen Harry Potter, right? In Harry Potter, there are these characters called Dementors. And what are Dementors? They're like these big, dark cloak figures. And their goal is they literally will like come up to you and they'll steal your soul. They'll like suck your soul out of your body. It's like this really dark creature. And in this experience in ayahuasca, I'm at this dinner table, and these dementors start knocking on my door. And the dementors were symbolic of unpleasant emotions. So fear or sadness or jealousy, disappointment. And it showed me that my old way of being, the way I reacted to that, is that I would actually run up to the front door. I'd turn off the light. I'd lock the deadbolt, right? I'd shut off all the lights in the house. I'd run to my alarm system and arm my alarm. And then I'd run up to the bedroom and I'd lock the bedroom door and I'd go into the closet and I'd put my hands above my head and I'd cover my ears and in hopes that these unpleasant dementors or unpleasant emotions would just go away. And in the experience, they're just banging and they're banging and they're banging on the door, and it's getting louder and louder. And I'm just like, go away. I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to pretend it's not here. Right? Please go away, rather than dealing with it. And it just showed me how intense it was. And it would build up, and more dementors would come to the door. The more I avoided them, the more they would come. And it showed me that the way out was to actually instead, showed a different scenario, that when the dementors knock, walk up to the front of the door, turn on the lights, right? Invite them in, welcome them in, right? Welcome them in. And then this vision brought them to the kitchen table. And for whatever reason, it showed me opening up my fridge, and I gave them tea and banana bread. And I remember asking them hey, what are you here to teach me? What am I learning from this? Right? What is this teaching me? It's a great question when you're feeling unpleasant emotions. What is this teaching me? And they shared a very quick message with me, and then they left. It was so fast, and they left on their own accord. And it was I remember it was uncomfortable with the dementors in my kitchen. I remember being dementors in my kitchen. This is intense. I can handle this, right? And then they left on their own, and it was a very positive experience. And by asking, what is this teaching me, right? The intensity diminished really fast, and then the unpleasant dementor left on its own. And this is just the truest analogy with our own emotional states, that if we just don't touch the emotion, we don't suppress it, we don't distract ourselves from it, right? We don't bury our head in social media or Netflix or binge eating or drinking or drugs, right? We just are okay. I'm okay with this. It's unpleasant. I'm okay. I can handle this, right? They will leave on their own. So step 2 is welcome them in, but don't touch them. And then step 3, my favorite mantra in life, is you repeat in your head again and again and again, I can handle this. You repeat in your head, I can handle this. So we have this wave of emotional discomfort. Step 1 is we relax our body. We unclench any tension in our body. Number 2, we welcome it in, but we don't touch it. We create separation. We don't react to it, right? We can respond to it. We don't want to react. Create separation. You ask, what is this teaching me? I can be with this. And then step 3, I can handle this. I can handle this. Not, I feel good, and because I did this tool, I feel great, and I no longer have to feel uncomfortable, but I can handle feeling uncomfortable. I can handle feeling insecure. I can handle feeling disappointment. I can handle feeling jealousy. I can handle feeling anxiety. I am the master at feeling the discomfort. Not I've designed my life in such a way where I've gotten everything that I want, therefore I don't feel uncomfortable. It's the exact opposite. I've designed my life in such a way that regardless of what happens, I can handle any emotional state that shows up. For those that know me and have coached with me, you know I talk about this quote all the time, but my favorite quote in personal development is, you cannot stop the waves from coming, but you can learn how to surf. We cannot stop the emotional waves of shame, disappointment, anger, sadness, overwhelm from coming, but we can learn how to surf. Now imagine we were on a vacation to Hawaii, right? Me and you were listening. I'm actually talking to you. We're in Hawaii and we're on the beach. And then one day these swells come in, like these massive waves come in. We're talking like 15-foot waves, like crazy waves. In scenario one, right? If you are a world champion surfer and I throw you in that water with a surfboard, you might have one of the best days of your entire life. Like, I'm going to talk about this day to my grandkids. They'll make documentaries about you. It's going to be like prime time life. Versus you don't know how to swim and I throw you in that water, you're going to have one of the worst days of your life and you might die. Same water, same wave. One person knows how to surf, one person doesn't, right? You cannot stop the waves from coming, but you can learn how to surf the wave. So how do we surf these emotional waves? We use this tool of inner alchemy. We want to alchemize the tar in our body, right? We unclench our tension, our shoulders, our back, our stomach, our face, our eyelids, right? Eyelids always helps me, right? Eyelids. Number two, we welcome it, but we don't touch it. We don't get involved in it. We don't get sucked into it. I welcome it here. We ask, what is this teaching me? Right? We welcome it in. It belongs here. Right? I'm not trying to get rid of you. You can be here, right? However long this emotional discomfort needs to be here, that's fine. Right? That doesn't mean I'm pleasant. It doesn't feel good, but I can handle not feeling good, right? You unclench, you welcome it, you don't touch it. What is this teaching me? And then step number 3, I can handle this. I can handle this. And by doing this tool, what's going to happen? What you're going to find, it's so beautiful. These emotional discomfort, these waves you go through, they move through you a lot faster and efficiently. And by doing so, you enter into a state, an energetic state that I call triple C. Triple C is the state that I want to be in when I'm making decisions or engaging with life or building my business or doing hard things. What's triple C? I'm calm in my body. Just calm. I'm calm in my body. Number 2, I'm confident in myself. Not confident in the situation. We might not know how the situation is going to unfold, but I'm confident in my ability to figure it out. I'm confident that I'll be able to handle it. I'll be able to figure it out. I'll be able to navigate it. It's going to be okay. And the third C is clear in the mind. I'm just thinking clearly. I'm thinking big and expansively. I'm creative. I'm intuitive. I can see how dots are connecting versus really being dysregulated and overwhelmed and panicked and pulled into this messiness, right? You're just not very effective. And in my experience, I've realized that when I engage with difficult decisions, when I have to make hard business decisions, right? When I am able to interact with that experience in a state of triple C, the quality of my life, the quality of my decision making is just so much more effective. I'm a better sales rep. I'm a better leader. I'm a better manager. I'm a better family, better member of my family. I'm a better friend, right? And so the goal for me is that, can I engage with the realities of life, with pain, uncertainty, constant work from a state of triple C? And when I do that, I find myself that I am in true rhythm with life. I'm surrendered. I am in connection with God and the universe and the divine, and I am a vessel for service. I think about, as I'm going through this second spiritual awakening, there's a lot of lectures from Ram Dass. I'm really into Ram Dass right now, and he talks about life can be boiled down into 3 major concepts, right? It's love everyone. Everyone you meet, just love them. Number 2, serve everyone. Can I be of service to this person, this business, whatever I'm engaged with, right? I'm going to be a source of love. I'm going to be of service. Number 3 is just remember God. Remember the higher, bigger picture, this really big, expansive God who is guiding us. And so I just wanted to share these thoughts with you guys. If you have any questions, comment below. Shoot me a DM on Instagram at Doug_Cart if you want to go a little bit deeper with this. If you really want to go deeper, this is what my coaching is a lot about, of how do you become this type of person, right? Imagine, truly, think about your life. Imagine what your life would look like if you were the type of person who truly could handle anything that happened from a place of calm, confident clarity, right? Naturally, what would happen to your business or your sales or your relationships? Skyrocket. So I wanted to share these things with you guys. Got a lot of love for the Alchemy Podcast fam. Hit me up on IG if you have more questions, and we'll see you guys next week.